It's pretty amazing.
I was at a bed and breakfast type thing yesterday, and the guy, because I was scouting for the show just to see if it was an old place, and the guy he said when we introduced ourselves, he was like, "Well, I'm a retired pastor. I just retired." I was like, "Oh, really?" And but he's like, "You can look at my place anytime. I mean, I'm open for the public." And the more we got to talking, of course, he asked me what I do. I said, "Well, we have a podcast," but he had never heard of it. But the more he got to talking, because I was like, "Well, where have you been? You know, what kind of pastor were you?" Or he's like, "Well, I started a few churches and all." But the more he talked, the more I felt like he just had kind of been just beaten up by organized religion.
Yeah,
you know,
a lot of people like
it
that.
seemed sad the more I listened to him. And he's like, I finally just decided I retired from that, but what my wife and I want to do now is use this place to bring, the world in, and we're just going to share Jesus with the world. And I was like, I like that plan.
That's a good plan.
Old John Adams had it right way back. Second or third president of the United States. He said when he read what James Madison, when he hammered out the Constitution, he said this Constitution was written for a religious and moral people. And he said it is wholly inadequate for any other. So they've just been eating away at the Constitution for the last 50 years, really, and it's accelerated. So, and what you now have is the results of that, and it's not a pretty picture.
No, and I think it'll play itself
We're fixing to find out where the godly are here in the next 30 years.
What I brought that up for is because, we're in 1 Corinthians, and it really comes down to a love problem. You can have all these things that you think you're right on, because it's been difficult. Some of the things we're talking about in 1 Corinthians, I mean, look, we're giving our best shot here on trying to understand their culture and what was going on.
Right.
But these people that are running around trying to get everything theologically right or claiming to be right on everything, it won't matter if you don't love. If you don't love God and you don't love people, and I feel like the further we're getting into Corinthians, and the reason I keep bringing up this point that Paul keeps bringing up about this is relational. I mean, I think the last thing I read last time was when in 1 Corinthians 12:4 he said there are different kinds of gifts, but the same Spirit. There are different kinds of service, but the same Lord. There are different kinds of working, but the same God works all of them in all men. Why is he making it a point to name the three aspects of the Trinity here? I mean, why would he be doing that?
Right.
I mean, and he does it over and 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 over again. Because really it's what Jesus said. When you lose that relational aspect of it, that's why he said, well, what commands shall we keep? They were trying to trap him. He said, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, strength.
Love your neighbors.
I mean, the part he's not saying is if you do that and you love your neighbor as yourself, you'll figure the rest of it out.
Yep.
What else was his point?
Right.
And so here you got in Corinth, same thing. And the reason I brought up that guy about that I seemed like he'd been beat up is the same concept. Mm-hmm. He said, boy, I've been involved in more arguments and church splits and people getting mad over this. And so I brought up what we're doing in Corinthians. I was like, maybe you should listen to our podcast. I was like, because I guarantee you, whatever you went through wasn't as bad as what was going on at Corinth. They had forgotten the gospel and they didn't love anybody.